Welcome back to another Pixel Game Maker tutorial. Today I'm going to go over plugin pack number 6 for runtime actions. So with that said, let's get started. Alright, so here we are in the sample project that I'm using. You can see that these are the plugins that come with it: move object, the push pull object, and then the template move settings. Alright, so and then there's also a fourth one, but it's more like a web tool. If you are on the page where you can download these, you'll see a web tool right here. You can also download the source right here and run it locally, but it is for the get connection point ID. And so what this is that some of the settings that we have, for instance, on this move object, if we scroll down here, you can see that position type, we want to maybe position it with a connection point. All right. And then if we use -1, we can use a variable value. Otherwise, we can just use a hard set value. Now, most of the time, connection points are going to start at 4 and they're going to increase from there. But sometimes if you delete the wall detections, or and what I mean by that is if you're in the animations here and you, let's just say that you delete a wall detection or this collision detection, it might shift the numbers. And so it wasn't like always a secure 4, and it wasn't always like a 4, 5, 6 type of a thing. So what we needed is a way to find your ID. So now we can simply do that without having to use the show log, which can be kind of hard to find the connection points even using the show log. So now what you do is you can just run the tool here. You can just upload your data project here. So I'm just going to go to just one of these here and go to project.json. And then you can see that it has given us the name of the animation and then what the connection points are associated with it. So you can see that this first one, Timothy, has an ID 4, and that it's the name of it also so that you can match him. And then it has an ID 5. Now it only gives the name of the base animation. So this base animation right here. And that is because the animation shares the same connection points and everything. So you only need the base animation name, and then you can get all the connection points from that. So how you can decipher it is just know what the name is of the connection point, and that's the ID that you're trying to get. So this is pretty simple, really useful, really handy. So yeah, that will help you in determining what these values would be for connection points and such. All right, so next let's just real quick go over the brief setup of a plugin. I've already set up move object and push pull, but now to set up the template settings is you just click right here, load, and it will load it right up. And then you want to use a common variable that will never be used anywhere else, and you want to set it to -100. So you go to resources, variables, and set this to -100. Then you go back here and you set an internal object that only this plugin will use. And then you want to go to objects, go to that object settings, make sure that this is on none. And then also it is a good idea to set this to a neutral group. Let's just pretend this says neutral group and then minus all these things. And that's just to keep safe. The big one is this one right here. And you definitely don't want it on like the player group, something where moving like player group and or go to player group could affect this. All right, so now let's go to plugin here. And now with this options right here, you want to just down and up on both these options. It just resets the numbers. For some reason, they get stuck sometimes. And so now we can just kind of look over some of these options. So we have move object. We can now use it on the, if we go up here, we can now use it on object, instances, all objects, by group, self, parent, locked first, or locked all. So there's a bunch of different options for move object that I was able to do. But if you do all objects here, you just go down here and you can say the scene's affected. And so how I knew I only needed to set these settings was because of this 3 right here, matching these 3s. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. They kind of match the settings that need to be set. And then the ones that don't have settings, they don't have any kind of tag or anything, and then you don't have to worry about any of these. And so yeah, that's kind of how I do it. And then you just, these arrows right here, you just kind of filter down depending on how flexible you want to get. You can see that you can either hard set it or you can follow these arrows in order to set it as a variable value. So move object was pretty consistent with what move object does. You just get a way wider range of targets. And then obviously every setting is pretty much a variable. All right, so then we go to push object. same thing where most of it is exactly the same. You just get a wider range of targets, and then you get use of variables for those targets. And then template move setting was the same thing. I did rename bound to bounce to just kind of make it, I don't know, sound more consistent with what it is. And then you can see that we have a simple patrolling option right here. And then you would just select which one you want. You can now, on this one, you can now do it to start towards display direction. And so let's say that you are left right. I know this comes up a lot where you start a left right patrol and then it's facing right, sees the player, and then you get out of range, it instantly starts going left again because that's how the logic is. Well, if you have towards display direction, now you'll be able to, it will continue its pathing right even after so it won't snap left right away. It will go to a right left pattern instead. Now, that might be tricky if you have a certain distance going for it, but if you're just doing it by going to the edge or to a wall or something and then going the other way, should work really fine. So that was one of the new features added here. And then everything else should be about the same. So yeah, hopefully this video is helpful. If you have any questions, comments below, Steam Forums Discord will get you figured out. That said, I'll see you at the next video.